You walk through the supermarket thinking you're making smart choices. Low fat, low sugar, whole grain, heart healthy. But those labels aren't protection, they're camouflage. The same corporations selling disease now market discipline. Each healthy product, granola, yogurt, wraps, trail mix, has been reformulated into something your ancestors wouldn't recognize as food. Behind every buzzword hides a chemical, a sugar, or a grain soaked in pesticide. And in an economic downturn when quality plummets and oversight fades, these fake health foods become silent weapons. What you think sustains you might be the very thing eroding your body's resilience. Let's dismantle the lies, one healthy food at a time. Number 1. Granola, the glyphosate breakfast. Granola once symbolized purity, rolled oats, nuts, honey, maybe a handful of raisins. It carried the illusion of a morning ritual rooted in health and simplicity. But that image died long ago. Today's granola is a chemical cocktail disguised as breakfast. The first betrayal begins with its base, oats. The Environmental Working Group and Consumer Reports both confirm that nearly all oat-based products in the United States, even those labeled organic, contain measurable amounts of glyphosate, the same herbicide used in industrial weed killers like Roundup. Imagine starting every morning with a spoonful of pesticide. Glyphosate is linked to hormone disruption, reproductive issues, and even certain cancers. In a country already struggling with rising medical costs and chronic inflammation, that's not breakfast, it's quiet sabotage. The tragedy deepens when you consider what healthy means to most people under financial stress. As food prices climb, families turn to granola for affordable convenience, an easy meal they can trust. But in reality, granola is loaded with hidden sugars, seed oils, and lectins that inflame the gut lining, compromise nutrient absorption, and destroy beneficial bacteria. Each bite that feels wholesome is actually pushing your microbiome closer to collapse. And when gut health collapses, immunity follows. In times of crisis, when clean food and medicine may be scarce, a compromised immune system becomes a liability that no stockpile can fix. Even the fats inside granola are false friends. Cheap vegetable oils like soybean or canola, heavily refined, oxidized, and stripped of nutrients, are added to keep clusters crispy. These oils are high in omega-6 fats that trigger inflammation, raising your risk for metabolic disease and heart problems. Pair that with sweeteners like brown rice syrup or evaporated cane juice, clever euphemisms for sugar, and you've got a metabolic time bomb in a paper pouch. The granola aisle, once a symbol of wellness, is now a corridor of quiet poisoning. Think about how this connects to resilience. In a genuine crisis, whether it's economic collapse or food supply disruption, your body's strength becomes your last currency. Chronic inflammation robs you of that strength. You can't fight scarcity when your own biology is inflamed and exhausted. A healthy gut, balanced blood sugar, and steady energy are your real survival assets, and those crumble with every spoonful of fake health food. There's a way out, but it requires awareness and intention. Real granola doesn't come from a factory, it comes from your own kitchen. Start with sprouted seeds, raw nuts, hemp hearts, and unsweetened coconut flakes. Add natural sweetness sparingly with cinnamon or chopped dates, not syrup. Store your mix in airtight containers, shelf-stable, nutrient-dense, and clean. You'll gain something corporations can't sell you, control. So next time you see energizing antioxidants or heart healthy stamped on a shiny granola bag, read the back instead of the front. You'll see a list of unpronounceable chemicals and industrial oils masquerading as food. The choice is simple but urgent. Either you eat for endurance or you eat for illusion. And in this age of hidden poisons, illusions cost too much. Number 2. Frozen yogurt, the artificial gut killer. It starts with a harmless craving. A warm afternoon, a swirl of pastel colors behind glass, the hum of frozen yogurt machines promising guilt-free pleasure. You tell yourself it's better than ice cream, less fat, fewer calories, maybe even probiotic benefits. That's how the lie works. What's being sold as a smart indulgence is a chemical suspension dressed in dessert form. Those soft peaks aren't cultured yogurt. They're a mix of powdered milk, artificial stabilizers, and high-fructose corn syrup run through a metal pump. The texture feels smooth, the taste seems clean, but it's precision-engineered to fool your senses while silently eroding your gut. Think of what real yogurt is supposed to be. Fermented milk rich with living bacteria that strengthen digestion and immunity. Frozen yogurt is the opposite. Pasteurized, sterilized, and infused with casein A1, the inflammatory protein found in most American cow milk. Dr. Gundry calls it a lectin-like compound because it provokes your immune system into constant low-grade warfare. You might not feel it immediately, but your joints ache more, your skin reacts faster, your energy wanes. The damage accumulates quietly until one day fatigue becomes your baseline. Then comes the deception of sweetness. To make low-fat yogurt palatable, manufacturers replaced natural fats with synthetic sugars, sucralose, better known as Splenda. It's marketed as harmless, but a Duke University study proved it kills up to half your gut's beneficial bacteria after a single packet's exposure. Imagine what a cup of sugar-free frozen yogurt does. Every spoonful sterilizes the microbiome that regulates your metabolism, your hormones, your immune function. You think you're choosing discipline, but you're feeding extinction to the microscopic allies keeping you alive. Ask yourself, why do we trust bright packaging over biology? Why do words like fat-free or digestive-friendly silence our intuition? It's the psychology of control. In a collapsing economy, people reach for comfort disguised as virtue. They buy the illusion of health to offset the stress of instability. But resilience can't be manufactured from chemicals. It grows from balance, from feeding the body real food that remembers where it came from. The betrayal is personal. A mother takes her kids out for frozen yogurt, believing she's teaching moderation. A man trying to lose weight swaps his evening dessert for a light swirl. Both think they're choosing better, but both are choosing bacteria death, metabolic chaos, and eventual dependence on medication. There's tragedy in that innocence, the quiet surrender of health to convenience. Now imagine the transformation. You walk past the neon shop and go home instead. In your refrigerator sits goat or coconut yogurt, alive with postbiotics and natural fats. You scoop a portion into a bowl, add cinnamon or crushed walnuts. It's not as flashy, but it heals instead of harms. You can feel the difference, not as a sugar rush, but as calm digestion, steady energy, clear thought. In an age of collapsing systems, internal stability becomes survival. Frozen yogurt isn't dessert. It's distraction. It offers pleasure with an expiration date and leaves your gut weaker each time. When the world sells you sweetness as safety, remember this. The most dangerous poisons are the ones that taste like relief. Choose real fermentation over fake comfort, and you reclaim not just your health, but your autonomy. Number 3. Low-fat salad dressings. The phrase low-fat still triggers a reflex of trust. For decades, it's been wired into public consciousness. Fat clogs arteries, fat causes heart attacks, fat makes you heavy. So when you see a bottle labeled low-fat or light, your guard drops. You imagine discipline, progress, control, but the food industry knows this reflex better than you do. What sits on that grocery shelf isn't health. It's a formula engineered to hijack your biology while pretending to save it. The story starts in the 1980s when fear of cholesterol birthed a generation of products that stripped out natural oils and replaced them with something worse. Refined seed oils like soybean, corn, and cottonseed. These oils are cheap to produce, easy to stabilize, and profitable to sell. What they aren't is stable inside the human body. When exposed to heat or light, they oxidize, turning rancid and inflammatory long before they touch your plate. Every tablespoon you drizzle over your salad delivers a dose of omega-6 fats, the same compounds that drive chronic inflammation, accelerate aging, and disrupt metabolic balance. But the betrayal doesn't end there. Once manufacturers removed fat, they had to rebuild flavor. They did it with sugar, artificial thickeners, and sucralose, the same gut-killing sweetener that appears in frozen yogurt. So now your salad, supposedly a bowl of fresh vitality, becomes a sugar-coated inflammation bomb. The crunch of lettuce feels innocent, but every bite triggers insulin spikes that mimic dessert, not nourishment. The irony is complete. A meal meant to cleanse ends up corroding from the inside out. Ask yourself, what's the purpose of eating greens if the dressing turns them into candy? The deception thrives because it flatters your intentions. You're trying, it says. You're making healthy choices. That's the seduction. In a collapsing economy, health becomes an identity, something you perform through labels instead of outcomes. Meanwhile, your cells drown in cheap oil and lab-engineered sweetness. The low-fat illusion keeps consumers docile and dependent, mistaking progress for purchase. The real cost is biochemical. Omega-6 overload disrupts your body's ability to use omega-3s, the fats that protect your brain and heart. Chronic inflammation weakens your immune system and worsens every underlying condition, from arthritis to depression. When crises hit, when stress surges, your body won't have reserves left to stabilize itself. You can't outthink inflammation. You either remove its source or live enslaved to it. Now imagine breaking that dependency. You skip the bottle, pour a thin stream of extra virgin olive oil, and add balsamic vinegar or lemon. The flavor is sharp, alive, real. Your body recognizes it instantly. Ancestral nutrition in modern exile. You can feel the steadiness that comes from feeding rather than tricking your system. Some of Dr. Gundry's patients even carry small flasks of olive oil with them to restaurants, reclaiming the ritual of self-preservation one meal at a time. In Collapse, true wealth isn't stored in banks. It's stored in biology. And biology doesn't respond to marketing. The low-fat dressing taught people to fear what sustains them and trust what harms them. Reversing that lie isn't just nutrition, it's resistance. Choose purity over profit, simplicity over slogans. The bottle can't save you, but the truth can. Number 4. Trail Mix, the lectin bomb. Trail mix once symbolized self-reliance, a handful of nuts and fruit carried by travelers, hikers, and pioneers who needed compact, sustaining energy. But what used to be survival food has become a corporate sugar trap. Walk through any supermarket or gas station and you'll see bright bags promising energy, protein, and natural fuel. The image is rustic. The contents are industrial. What fills those bags isn't nourishment. It's a lectin-loaded, sugar-coated sabotage disguised as health. The story Dr. Gundry told about one of his patients captures this betrayal perfectly. The man was disciplined, devoted, convinced he was eating clean. He followed every rule, avoided gluten, avoided processed foods, and yet his test results showed a worsening leaky gut, the microscopic breakdown of the intestinal barrier that leads to autoimmune flare-ups, fatigue, and chronic inflammation. When Gundry pressed for details, the patient proudly admitted to eating just a little organic peanut butter every morning. That was the culprit. Peanuts, despite the name, aren't nuts. They're legumes, and they carry some of the most aggressive lectins found in food. Those lectins slip through the gut wall, confuse the immune system, and spark inflammation from the inside out. Trail Mix, packed with peanuts and cashews, delivers that same slow poison under the label of energy snack. Cashews are no safer. They're members of the poison ivy family, containing urushiol compounds that can irritate the gut and skin. Manufacturers roast and salt them to disguise the bitterness, but the irritants remain. Add to that a cascade of dried fruit drenched in added sugar, and you've transformed what should be portable nutrition into an inflammatory dessert. Some mixes even toss in chocolate candies or yogurt-coated bits, layering chemical oils, food dyes, and preservatives over already compromised ingredients. You get the crunch, the sweetness, the illusion of vigor, while your metabolism and immunity quietly degrade. Ask yourself, what happens when comfort food becomes chemical food? In times of scarcity or stress, people reach for what feels familiar, not what's real. Trail Mix plays on that nostalgia, an echo of wilderness independence, while feeding the same industrial dependence that weakens nations. When your body depends on constant sweetness, you lose not just metabolic flexibility but emotional stability. You become more reactive, less resilient, more easily manipulated by cravings. In Collapse, addiction to convenience becomes a survival liability. There's a better path, and it starts with slowing down. Buy raw walnuts, rich in omega-3 fats that calm inflammation and sharpen focus. Shell pistachios yourself. The act of cracking each one teaches restraint and reconnects you with your food's rhythm. Skip the dried fruit entirely or use a few pieces of unsweetened coconut for texture. Store your mix in glass jars instead of plastic bags. Fewer microplastics, longer freshness. What you're building isn't just a snack. It's a blueprint for autonomy. Trail Mix was never meant to be candy. It was meant to be endurance, energy that sustained explorers, not office cravings. Today, its industrial mutation mirrors society's decline. Convenience over consciousness, marketing over nourishment. When every label promises health, the only safety left is skepticism. Build your mix, control your inputs, and remember, real energy doesn't come from sugar. It comes from clarity. Number 5. Wraps, the false freshness. The modern wrap was born out of fatigue with bread. Too heavy, too processed, too full of guilt. So the industry created a new illusion: flat, colorful circles sold as a lighter, smarter evolution of the sandwich. Spinach wrap, tomato wrap, whole grain. The colors trick your brain into reading fresh, vegetable-based, clean. But that emerald or scarlet hue doesn't come from a garden. It comes from dyes and trace powders, not nutrition. Beneath the pigment lies the same wheat, corn, and gluten that wrecked the body in the first place, now dressed in camouflage. One slice of bread contains roughly 4 teaspoons of sugar. A single wrap, marketed as a healthier alternative, often contains the same amount or more. That means the average fitness lunch delivers the blood sugar surge of dessert before the afternoon even begins. Dr. Gundry's patients were shocked when he broke the math down in his clinic. What looked like restraint was actually relapse. The modern wrap doesn't fix the problem, it rebrands it. The same lectins found in wheat, corn, spinach, and tomatoes all trigger inflammatory cascades in the gut, joints, and brain. For people with autoimmune tendencies or chronic fatigue, that reaction is quiet but relentless. Every lunch that feels convenient chips away at resilience, leaving the immune system confused and overworked. Consider the psychology behind it. People choose wraps to feel virtuous: less bread, fewer carbs, easier digestion. It's a performance of control, a small daily gesture of discipline in a chaotic world. But that illusion of mastery is exactly how dependency deepens. In an economy that rewards shortcuts, the wrap becomes a metaphor for modern survival. Everything looks green on the surface, but underneath it's the same old structure, the same processed base, the same trap. Even the so-called alternatives, cassava wraps, whole grain tortillas, spinach-infused flatbreads, are built on compromise. Cassava removes lectins but loads the body with starch and sugar. Gluten-free versions trade wheat for rice or corn flour, both of which spike glucose and inflame digestion. What's marketed as innovation is simply lateral movement. Different poison, same effect. In an age of instability, when healthcare access can vanish overnight, the smallest daily toxins matter most. A wrap isn't just a food choice, it's a micro-decision about how much control you truly have over your own biology. Now imagine unlearning that reflex. Instead of peeling plastic off a factory-made sheet, you fold your meal inside butter lettuce or romaine leaves. The crunch is fresh, the taste alive, and there's no post-lunch fog. It's a small act of rebellion, returning to the simplicity the body still understands. No preservatives, no glyphosate dust, no gut confusion. Just clean fuel. In survival terms, it's not about aesthetics, it's about endurance. The goal isn't to look healthy, it's to function when systems fail. When the grid goes down, it won't matter what was printed on a wrap label. It will matter how well your body can adapt, digest, and move. Fake freshness is comfort for the complacent. Real freshness is power for the prepared. Number 6. Yogurt-covered snacks. The deception begins with the word yogurt. It's soft, familiar, safe. A symbol of balance and gut health. So when you see yogurt-covered almonds, yogurt pretzels, or yogurt raisins, you instinctively lower your guard. The name triggers trust before logic has time to intervene. But look closely and you'll see there's no yogurt here. Only a white, waxy glaze made from hydrogenated oils, sugar, and emulsifiers. That glossy finish that looks like wellness? It's engineered plastic for the digestive tract. Manufacturers exploit a single association, yogurt, and turn it into a license to sell candy, disguised as discipline. This is where the food industry's genius meets its cruelty. Yogurt coating isn't cultured, it's chemicalized milk solids bound with palm kernel oil, the same oil used in cheap frostings and processed desserts. It's shelf-stable, non-refrigerated, and practically immortal. The so-called live cultures are dead on arrival, sterilized in manufacturing long before they reach your hands. What remains is a smooth layer of false virtue that coats your tongue, spikes your blood sugar, and quietly feeds inflammation through every bite. It's the modern version of deception by texture, convincing you something creamy must be nourishing. Now picture a parent handing a bag of yogurt pretzels to a child, believing they're offering a smarter treat. That's the tragedy. Marketing has weaponized trust, targeting people trying to do the right thing. These healthy snacks are built for emotional manipulation, comfort disguised as care. The child learns sweetness equals safety. The adult feels control through compromise. But every handful trains the body to expect instant pleasure, dopamine without nutrition, calm without foundation. Over time, that loop becomes addiction, chemical dependency reinforced by branding. The real danger hides deeper. The oils used to make that coating stable are hydrogenated, meaning they've been chemically altered to resist spoilage. Those trans fats don't break down in your bloodstream. They build up in arterial walls, distorting cell membranes and choking oxygen delivery. The sugar beneath compounds the effect, forcing your pancreas into overdrive. Your immune system, already strained by stress and environmental toxins, now battles the inflammation caused by what you thought was healthy food. The cumulative toll isn't immediate, it's gradual erosion. You don't feel poisoned, you just feel tired. Ask yourself, what kind of system designs food to mimic medicine, then rewards you for buying more of it? It's the same mechanism that fuels dependency across every sector. Convince the consumer they're being responsible, while making them weaker. In an unstable economy, that weakness becomes profit. A population hooked on fake wellness doesn't revolt, it reorders. Breaking free requires rejecting the entire premise. Instead of reaching for coated snacks, choose raw nuts, coconut flakes, or dark chocolate above 85% cacao, foods that satisfy without sedating. Each bite should nourish, not numb. When you prepare your own snacks, you control the ingredients, the shelf life, and the story. You reclaim authorship over your body. The yogurt coating isn't sweetness, it's submission. Every glossy bite is a reminder that convenience is the currency of control. The way out isn't another product, it's awareness. Because in a world built to confuse pleasure with health, the first act of survival is tasting the difference. Number 7. Bottled iced teas. Few drinks carry such a noble reputation as tea. Civilizations were built around its leaves: ritual, reflection, renewal. But the tea you see glowing under fluorescent shelves in plastic bottles has nothing to do with that heritage. It's a ghost of something once sacred. Those glossy labels whisper antioxidants, natural refreshment, and real brewed taste. Yet what's inside is closer to soda than serenity. The irony is painful. A drink once used to heal now slowly corrodes the very systems it was meant to protect. Dr. Gundry points to the heart of the lie, a 2010 study that compared bottled tea to fresh brewed and found you'd need to drink 20 bottles to get the antioxidants in a single homemade cup. The bottled versions are sterilized, pasteurized, and drowned in high fructose corn syrup, preservatives, and sucralose, the artificial sweetener that sterilizes the gut. The result is a liquid illusion: the color of tea, the faint bitterness of tannins, the promise of calm, but stripped of the compounds that make tea medicine. It's like inhaling the scent of health while swallowing its absence. People buy bottled tea for convenience, but the trade is brutal. You gain a plastic bottle and lose the microbiome that controls immunity and metabolism. You sip something meant to hydrate, but it dehydrates instead. The sugar forces insulin to surge, the caffeine spikes cortisol, and the preservatives inflame the liver's detox pathways. Over time, that means more fatigue, less clarity, and a nervous system running on fumes. The act meant to restore balance becomes a ritual of depletion. Ask yourself, what is being sold when something ancient and simple becomes processed and branded? It's not tea. It's control through narrative. Bottled tea is marketed as mindfulness for the overworked, a way to feel grounded without actually slowing down. It's the illusion of calm that keeps a restless system moving. That's why it's dangerous. It sells relief without restoration. The body may obey for years, but eventually the imbalance surfaces: sleep problems, inflammation, anxiety, hypertension, symptoms of a culture running on synthetic peace. The tragedy is that the real solution is almost free: A handful of loose leaves, hot water, 5 quiet minutes. That's all it takes to brew something alive. Something that remembers its origin. Real tea contains polyphenols that fight oxidative stress, strengthen blood vessels, and calm digestion. It's the opposite of bottled chaos. And when you store it in a stainless steel container or ceramic mug, not plastic or aluminum, you protect those compounds from degradation. You're not just drinking, you're rebuilding. In crisis, where every choice matters, clarity comes from simplicity. Tea brewed at home teaches that truth. You feel its honesty with every sip. No syrupy aftertaste, no chemical film, no energy crash. It's water, plant, heat, and patience. The kind of ritual that grounds you when systems collapse. Bottled iced tea is a mirror of modern decay. Something once sacred, emptied of meaning, sold back as lifestyle. The real revolution isn't avoiding bad tea, it's refusing to outsource your health. Boil your own water. Steep your own leaves. Taste what integrity feels like again. Every label that promised health was a lesson in dependence. The foods that claimed to protect you were built to weaken you, slowly, invisibly, profitably. When collapse arrives, the body carrying years of artificial nourishment won't endure. Survival begins where illusion ends, in awareness, restraint, and simplicity. What you prepare with your own hands will always be safer than what convenience sells. Strip the colors, skip the slogans, return to what's real. Your gut, your blood, your focus, they are your infrastructure now. Protect them. Because in the age of crisis, the strongest immunity isn't bought. It's built.